Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here. It's rating the 11-game NBA main slate on Wednesday. Before I get into the video, though, if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. My name is DK. I make daily videos and live stream for NBA and NFL slates on Draftkings. Real quick, really appreciate all you guys that came and checked out the live stream today. We had over 150 concurrent viewers. So, again, I do live streams, YouTube live streams most days, general Q&A style. So, make sure to check those out if you guys do have questions about the slate. Usually do it about an hour or so before lock. If you're unable to watch these YouTube videos, I also upload on Apple Podcasts. Link is down below. If you're interested in signing up for premium content, now is the perfect time. Start of the month. I offer NBA and NFL package. We cover the main, we cover the show on the slates. And the sponsor of this video is Thrive Fantasy. Guys, if you've not heard of Thrive Fantasy, it's a site where you can actually... You're building out a lineup on player props. And they have pretty decent sized contests too here that have some overlay. So $25,000 prize pool for NFL, $5,000 nightly usually for NBA. So how it works again is there's usually 20 player props. And you take 10 of the 20. The less probable the prop is to occur, the more points you receive if you choose correctly. So there's some game theory involved. For example, Tobias Harris, 18.5 fantasy points. The over is more likely to hit, so if it does hit, you get less points, but the under, less likely to occur. If it does hit, you get more points. So, yeah, it's pretty fun. Again, there's usually some overlay and pretty decent-sized prize pools to $1,500 up top for this one. So if you guys want to try out Thrive Fantasy, make sure to sign up and use my code, DKDFS. It is DKDFS, all one word. You will get a 100% match up to $100. And finally, as always, guys, I want to thank you for your continued support. Thank you to everyone coming in and watching these videos every day. Just make sure if you do enjoy to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Okay, so before we get into players and the prices for this 11-game slate, let's look back lineup here from tonight. So tonight might be one of the lowest scoring nights of the season. So I was talking about this in the Discord today, actually. Of how, the last week we've just been dominating. I was like, you know what? We haven't got hit with any bad variants, right? We haven't got hit with any random foul trouble or random blowouts. Probably going to happen tonight. And yeah, it happened. But real quick, though, I want to give a special shout out all last night to all the big winners on Patreon here. So this is the $100 single entry. I ended up finishing in third, tied with another Patreon member, and my boy Gabe finishing in second, $800. With 3 of the top 4 in the $100 single entry were all Patreon members. Again, congrats to you guys on the big wins. We had Coach take down, what is that again? Almost $2,000 profit. Yeah, it was a good night. And even NFL, we had takedowns in NFL. A really nice night there. Faded Nick Chubb. So. All in all, it was a great night there. But yeah, let's recap this slate. So, kind of kicking myself for a couple of reasons. So, I really thought that Chris Paul was going to be the chalk. I was wrong. He was 25% owned. If I would have kept Chris Paul here, I would be cashing easily. And then, second of all, it was a coin flip for me for Halliburton and Fox. And, well, that could not have gone worse for me, at least 3/4 of the way through. So most likely not going to get in the cash, but yeah, what a low scoring night it was. So, first to start off the night, you had random Derek White foul trouble. Like, really? You get random Derek White foul trouble. He picks up 3 fouls, misses. He was smashing too. Picks up, again, the 3 fouls, misses huge minutes in the first half. And then the cherry on top, picks up his 4th right away. So Derek White lost an insane amount of minutes, and then the game blows out. Like, Popovich waves the white flag, and the 4th, it's like a 15-point game to start the 4th, and he just empties the bench. Like, is there anyone worse than Pop? And can we also talk about how we didn't get the Spurs lineup until like a couple minutes before lock? Like, isn't it a rule that the lineups have to be out 30 minutes before the game starts? Again, anyone worse than Pop? I'm not sure. And then you have Trey Jones, who starts 0 of 7 from the field. And then to top it all off, too, he doesn't play in the blowout. I'm just like, all right, this is getting to be too much. We have a 75% on LeBron right now, with 27 fancy points through 3 quarters. So that's not going great. My 2 low-owned plays are the reason I have any shot of cashing right now. Brandon Clark, only 26% on 1 for 32 fancy points. And a guy I was very high in for tournaments to leverage the field. Sure, again, we got a little bit lucky that Jalen Smith got in foul trouble, but that was my reasoning, right? I knew Jalen Smith was going to be the chalk. I was like, hey, it's going to fail more often than it comes through. But if Jalen Smith gets in foul trouble, we can get massive leverage to the field by playing Biyombo. Because number 1, Jalen Smith's not getting points if he's in foul trouble. Number 2, Biyombo is getting that run, and he's the flat min price and not a bad point per minute guy. So Biyombo absolutely smashed at no ownership, 38 fancy points. This is apparently Kiefer Sykes. I keep saying Skies. Kiefer Sykes' team. This is his team now. Again, to Sabonis, this is Sykes' team. 39.5 fantasy points. And then Domantas Sabonis, with everyone out for the Pacers, 29 fantasy points. What is going on? What actually is going on tonight? The winning lineup is going to be like 250. So if I wanted to stuck with Chris Paul here, I would be like 5xing my money right now. So I'm a little bit tilted about that because my reasoning for not having Chris Paul is I thought he was going to be the absolute chalk. And he wasn't. He was like 25% owned. But yeah, that's it for the look back. I might be able to sneak in the cash if Halliburton can have a big fourth quarter, but not looking great right now. And then so let's go over ownership in the high stakes in the Thunderdome. So Westbrook 25% owned, 21 fancy points. Like is any complete bust. Let's see. Miles Turner 25% owned. He was about like 30% in my tournament. 18 fancy points. Massive bust. Trey Jones is popular. Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Let's see. What else? Domantas Sabonis, the chalk in high stakes. 29 fancy points. Again, Fox smashing, Halliburton doing nothing. It's painful. I'm not going to lie. LeBron James, 75% owned. Again, no real surprise, but just doing nothing. It's THT and Malik Monk doing everything. So, like I said, it's going to be one of the lowest scoring nights slates of the year. Again, Chris Paul was a little bit higher owned in high stakes. He was about 37%. In my tournament, it was only 25%. I was shocked about that. I really thought he was going to be the chalk. Damian Jones was pretty chalky. He's kind of a letdown. It was just landmines all over the place. So, super low scoring night, guys. Hopefully you avoided some of these landmines. Hopefully you got in the cash. And let's talk about this 11-game slate now. So we'll start off with Detroit and Charlotte. Good matchup here for Detroit, but you do have a lot of guys back. Diallo 8-3 still started and played 32 minutes, but again, with CADE back, with a couple other guys back, it's hard for me to pay the price point. I know Saddiq Bey went off. I know he played 39 minutes and smashed. I know it's a good matchup here too, but with Cade Cunningham back, it kind of feels like a chase. So I think Bey is playable, but might be over-owned. Cade Cunningham himself at 8.2K came back, and there's no limitations, 37 minutes. I think he's a solid G. Like for me, I would rather play Cade Cunningham than Saddiq Bey. I would rather roll the dice there because I think Saddiq Bey gets more ownership. As far as the bigs go, so Garza got in foul trouble, so it's a little bit hard to say, how many minutes he would have played if he stayed out of foul trouble. But Lyles played a good amount. He played 34 minutes. But isn't Isaiah Stewart? Okay, I thought I saw news that he was actually going to play. He is still out. I guess I read that wrong on Twitter. I could have sworn I saw that he was coming back. But yeah, so assuming Lyles starts, I think he's a fair play, but I don't know if we get 34 minutes again from him. And then Josh Jackson had a really good game off the bench, but only played 20 minutes, so definitely more of a contrarian play. One guy I'll mention here, he's really, really cheap. He's not played well at all. He went to the locker room for a little bit last night, ended up returning. Killian Hayes. So played 24 minutes in his first game back, didn't do much. But at this price point, it's like, for a starting point guard, I think he's at least in consideration. On the Charlotte side, so Charlotte's the team right now. I think they're just all tournament plays. It's hard to trust anyone. There's games where LaMelo just randomly gets benched. LaMelo played 10 first half minutes last game. Again, have no idea why, but it's a good matchup here. I don't think anyone plays LaMelo after back-to-back dud games, but not super worried about it. I think he's a solid GPP play. And then the rest of the secondary plays, all tournament options as well. Guys like Bridges, Rozier, Hayward, Oubre. If you feel really good about one of those guys, you can go there. But right now, it's hard to trust Charlotte. Moving on to Houston and Washington. So this one's a little bit hard to say right now just because we don't know if Kevin Porter Jr. and Wood are for sure playing. I know they got suspended last game, but, like, are they going to start? Are they back to their normal run? So, like, if they start and there's no more, like, discipline, there's no more, like, limitations or anything, then, like, 6.2K is just too cheap for Christian Wood, right? So he would look really good. And even 6.6 for Kevin Porter Jr., assuming he goes back to his mid-30s minutes, would also look pretty solid. So, like, wait and see if they end up suspending them again or they're just not going to play anymore for this team. Then, like, Daniel Tice at 4K obviously comes in play for value. Shot 3 of 13. Absolutely disgusting. You had Garrison Matthews ceiling game. Again, he shot really well. It feels like a chase if you go there. Not much else here unless, like, one or both of Wood and KBJ end up not playing on the Washington side. So basically everyone smashed last game for Washington. Brad Beal, 10.5K. Again, when we're getting point Brad Beal, the floor goes way, way up. Now, one thing I will mention is we do have Raul Neto available. So that's one guy that can handle the ball, but I don't think he starts. I guess they could move in the starting line. We'll see. But if they continue with point Brad Beal, then, like, I still am fine paying the price point for him just because the floor goes way up when he's handling the point guard duties. So I still have interest in Brad Beal at 10.5 even the price. And Kuzma, I'm so torn in this one, guys. He's been playing really well. His price dropped, and he's a great matchup. But I also think he's going to be extremely over-owned. So I don't know what to do here, to be honest. I really don't. I think he plays 35 to 40 minutes. He's been playing out of his mind recently. It is a good matchup, too. So I definitely have interest in Kuzma, but my only issue is, what is the ownership going to be on him tomorrow? And then Daniel Gafford. So, again, I still want to tell it about this 2 games ago. Was on pace to take down on 1-1. And Daniel Gafford was smashing at relatively low. I think it was like 30% or so on that slate. Had 9 of 10 shooting, 33 fantasy points against a big Chicago front court. And he just doesn't come back in. Just doesn't come back in. No foul trouble. Nah. They closed with Anthony Gill, who, again, should not even be in the G League. He's that bad. But yeah, going back to Gafford, if we are going to continue to get mid-30s minutes from him, I think he looks good at this price point. Good shot blocker, decent point per minute guy. Someone said on Twitter that KCP is a high usage player, and I was just like, we talk about the same KCP here? Again, with KCP, you can always play him, but he's got to hit his shots to get value. Like, the minutes will be there, but, like, if he's not hitting his shots like he wasn't last game, he is sub 10 fantasy point floor. So whenever I think KCP is going to get ownership, I never play him. When I will consider KCP is on a smaller slates or when I think he's going to be extremely low owned. I'm not going to play a relatively popular KCP almost ever. And then, yeah, the rest of Washington, like Neto, if there's no limitations, I think is least interesting because he's 3.3K. Philadelphia and Orlando. So Joel Embiid, 11.2K. I mean, he should be able to have his way against this Orlando front court. He's really, really been playing well of late. Hit a triple-double last game, too, against Houston. So I think Embiid looks really good there at the top. Tobias, again, feels priced about right. No Maxey still, so we should get point Seth Curry, which I do think makes him kind of interesting here. He got in random foul trouble to start the game, so he lost a few minutes there. I think he would have played mid-30s minutes. So I do have some interest in Seth Curry. And then Korkmaz, again, won me a lot of money last night, but that was 100% an outlier game. We're not going to get 51 fantasy points again from Korkmaz. But I do think, assuming he starts again, we probably get around 30 minutes from him. And he does have a ceiling if he's knocking down his shots like he did last game. So I still have some interest in Korkmaz, but would not expect that type of performance again. That's probably it. I mean, I guess you can consider Danny Green, but God, it is so painful to have Danny Green in your lineup. So painful. All right, Orlando. So now Orlando's getting pretty healthy. Cole Anthony also might be back too. So and not a ton that really stands out to me. We have Kiki back. Again, Ross has been back for a couple games. They're getting pretty healthy. Bamba's been back for a couple games. There's nothing that stands out to me. If Cole Anthony plays, there's no limitations. I think Cole Anthony is worth a look. If he ends up sitting again, then I think the only guy I'd consider would probably be Terrence Ross for tournaments, who's played 35 and 30 minutes in regulation, then 29 minutes in regulation, just because he's probably going to shoot the ball 15 to 20 times. So would have a little bit of interest in him in tournaments, but yeah, nothing else I would look to in Orlando. San Antonio and Boston, so my hatred for Popovich, I really hate him. I really do not like Greg Popovich. But yeah, DeJounte Murray is on track to return. So keep an eye on news here. If there's no limitations, I think he's a solid contrarian play. If he's going to be limited, then I'm not going to go there. Derek White's a little bit too pricey with Murray back. I think the guy that looks the best to me is Jakob Poeltl at 6'3", who had a really good game tonight in limited minutes, went for 40 fantasy points. Should play around 30 minutes. Again, has a relatively high floor. And then with Murray back, guys like Vassell and Bates Diop are still playable, but they're much riskier with a high usage guy like Murray in the lineup. Moving on to Boston. So Boston's now basically fully healthy. We have Tatum back. We have Robert Williams back. We have Brown way priced up from when Tatum was out. We have, again, Horford's back. Sure, everyone is back here. There's nothing. There's nothing that stands out to me on the Boston side. If you want to take some shots here and low-owned guys for tournaments, sure, but there's absolutely nothing that stands out. Golden State and Dallas, not much that stands out in Golden State either. Steph Curry, the price has finally dropped at sub 11K. The floor is what we saw last game of around 30 fantasy points if he's not hitting his shots. I think in a competitive game, we get mid to high 30s minutes. Again, the floor is low. He does have a ceiling, though, so always someone I'd consider in tournaments. Now, Draymond Green in his first game back played 36 minutes, which was good to see. Looks like there's no limitations on Draymond. If we're going to continue to get mid-30s minutes from him, I think it makes him a safer play. Earlier in the season, he was playing low 30s, but if we're going to be 35 to 36 minutes from Draymond, he looks better. Poole had a massive game off the bench. He does have upside, but price doesn't really stand out to me. I'll mention Kevon Looney at 3.9, who played 25 minutes even with Draymond back, but I think we can get to better value. On the Dallas side, so no Porzingis. Luka Doncic at 10.6, I do think makes for a solid spend up. Now, one thing I will mention is Luka actually doesn't really get a boost with Porzingis out. The usage, he actually plays better when Porzingis is in the lineup. But he is only 10.6K. He played 34 minutes last game, so there's no limitations on him. And Golden State, even though they're good defensively, they played an up-tempo pace. So I think Luka looks solid there. Brunson a little bit too pricey for me. And then Maxi Kleber without Porzingis should start. If he does start, I like him quite a bit for value. He played 31 minutes last game. I think we get low 30s minutes from him, so he would look pretty good. Dwight Powell mentioned 2.37, should get mid-20s minutes. So the two bigs, value bigs in Kleber and Dwight Powell, I think will look pretty good. Brooklyn and Indiana. So, guys, Kyrie Irving is back. He is back. I haven't seen anything on limitations or anything. We will see. But right now, Brooklyn's kind of just a stay away. Kyrie back, KD, Harden, probably both a little bit overpriced. The value, I'm just not going to touch with Kyrie back. So, I'm just going to take a wait-and-see approach, see how they all gel together. But, yeah, I'm going to completely stay away from Brooklyn, basically. On the Indiana side, so I'm sure you guys know what Sabonis did tonight. He didn't do much. He let everyone down in DFS. But you got to have short-term memory, right? Sure, he let us down tonight. Who cares? I could care less, right? For tomorrow's slate, obviously I'm tilted about it, but, it doesn't mean, you can't be one of those people that are oh my, never again with Sabonis. Never. I see people all the time say that. I could care less. I'm going right back to Domantas Sabonis without LeVert and Brogdon, assuming they're both out again. His usage goes way up. His assist rates go up. I think Sabonis looks really good there. Turner at 7K, probably a little bit overpriced for me. Justin Holiday is just a fair option. He's low usage, but he'll play big minutes. And then you guys ready for the chalk of the chalk here? Washington and Sykes both look pretty good, assuming that Brogdon and LeVert are both out. These guys should play low to mid 30s minutes. Both had a really good game. Sykes had the ceiling game. I don't think we can expect that again from Sykes, but he's also 3.3K. So these two are going to be extremely popular, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to like them, assuming that Brogdon and LeVert are out again, because they should get big minutes. All right, Toronto and Milwaukee. So if you went to those Toronto guys in tournaments tonight, you got pretty unlucky. Van Fleet, is he just going to play 48 minutes a game. Like, I swear, whenever I look at, whenever I'm tracking the Toronto game, Van Fleet is always in the game. He just never sits on the bench. He just plays 48 minutes a game. But yeah, Van Fleet smashed even in 3 quarters. I mean, right now, he's just playing on a different level. So if you want to continue to ride the hot streak here for Fred Van Fleet, I have no issue with that. And he's probably going to play about 40 minutes. And Siakam got in some foul trouble. He still had a pretty solid game, even with foul trouble and the blowout. So the top 2 guys for Toronto, I think, are perfectly fine. You had Scottie Barnes that almost had a triple-double. More of a contrarian play for me, has a much lower floor than Siakam and Van Fleet. And that's probably it for me. I don't think I get to anyone else on Toronto. Moving on to Milwaukee. So Giannis Antetokounmpo 11-6. Been a little bit quiet of late. I don't know if he gets a ton of ownership, but I think he's a pretty safe play because this game should stay competitive. He's obviously a guy that has triple-double upside, so I have no issue going to Giannis. Drew at 8-2 has been playing well, but doesn't really stand out to me. Middleton at 7-3. Again, they're both more secondary plays. Not a ton else I love on Milwaukee. I mean, we do have DiVincenzo. We do have Grayson Allen out. Nwora is 4.7K, and he's listed as questionable. So, like, we'll see what they do the starting lineup. My guess is it's Giannis, Drew, Milton, Portis, and then George Hill maybe. So, like, maybe we consider a guy like George Hill at 3.2K. Wes Matthews probably gets some run. Yeah, nothing you're going to feel really good about, but there would be some value that would be playable there for Milwaukee. We'll see what they do with the starting lineup. All right, OKC in Minnesota. So if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander back, so unfortunately, we probably can't go to Giddey Goat, who we got at like sub 10% ownership and absolutely smashed last game. But yeah, SGA, assuming no limitations, I think he's a decent GBP play. It's a good matchup, and he'll play mid-30s minutes. Giddey, again, he went off last game, but with SGA back, he does kind of take a little bit of a back seat, so he feels a little bit overpriced. I feel like I just have to take a deep breath whenever I talk about the rest of the Thunder guys, right? Like, God, this is just, it's so painful to talk about. I mean, it's going to be a 3-headed center rotation of like Roby, Muscala, and Derek Favors. Like, does that just not make you want to puke? Just Roby, Muscala, and a washed-up Derek Favors 3-headed monster rotation at center. Kenrich Williams, 3-7. We probably get 20-ish minutes from him, but I think there's going to be better value. Wiggins should get some decent run as well, but I just don't trust him. So, yeah, Thunder, not much else I'm looking to. Now, Minnesota, it's hard to say right now because we have Cat and with D'Lo both questionable. If they're both out, then Ant-Man becomes a pretty solid play. Will be their highest usage player. And, of course, after letting me down against the Lakers with low ownership, he comes back and smashes. So it's like, that's just a lock to happen. But yeah, Ant-Man will look good if they're both out. And then Beverly would make for a safe play at 5-6 if D'Lo and Cat are out. And then Naz Reid will look pretty solid, too, if Cat is out. So it's just kind of if-thens. If D'Lo and Cat are both in, then there's not a lot that stands out to me on the Minnesota side. Utah and Denver, so I guess Utah just listed everyone as questionable for this game. Like, what is going on here? What happened? Right, Utah, they've had, like, no one sit out. They've always been fully healthy. Now they said the whole roster questionable. I don't even know what to say about this team. Mitchell, I think there's a couple guys that are probable. I think it's Mitchell's probable. Gobert's questionable. Clarkson is probable. Bogdanovich is questionable. Ingles is out. Royce O'Neal's questionable, and Whiteside's questionable. I literally have no idea what to say. So, yeah, if a few of these guys are out, then obviously the guys that end up playing are going to look a lot better, but I just have no idea what even to say right now. Now, we do have Gobert and Whiteside both questionable. So if they're both out against a big Denver team, it might be one of the Summer League GOATs, Udoka Azubuike season. He's questionable too. So like, I don't even know what to say right now about this Utah team. Just wait for news. Hopefully get clarity on this, but there's just no way I can even talk about it right now. On the Denver side, Jokic at 12K. I don't think it's much ownership because of the matchup against Utah, but I'm fine going right back to him. Again, this game he was smashing, random foul trouble. This game was on pace for about 60 plus, blowout. So, yeah, I don't think the ownership's going to be super high, but I'm perfectly fine going right back to Jokic. The rest of Denver, nothing stands out to me. I guess one guy I'll mention as a large field tournament play is Bones Hyland, who probably plays low 20s minutes and does have upside. So I think he's the least interesting. All right, Atlanta and Sacramento. So this game looks pretty appealing. Trae Young went for almost 100 fantasy points last game. 85 fantasy points. He is questionable due to carrying the team for the last week. We have Collins still out. We have Bogdanovich out. We have Reddish questionable. So if Trae Young and Reddish are both out, then, I mean, the value here for Atlanta is going to look really good. Like DeLon Wright, Herter, Gallinari, Lou Williams probably lead this team. Obviously with Capella playing the center. So, like, the value here is going to look really good if all those guys are out. If Trae Young is in himself, I think it makes for a good GPP play. Now, my concern here is ownership, right? Ownership might be inflated after that 85 fantasy point game, but yeah, he would definitely be in play in a good matchup. Capella, does have upside. I think he should be able to feast against the Sacramento front court. So yeah, Atlanta's a team that, if both Trae Young and Reddish are out, then there's definitely gonna be some value here that looks pretty good. On the Sacramento side, so yeah, with Fox and Halliburton, now with the price points, even though Fox had a better game tonight, it probably is lean to Fox at 7K, for the $700 discount. But both have upside. Barnes doesn't stand out to me. Assuming Holmes is still out, I think Damian Jones is an okay value play. That probably plays mid-20s minutes, so a little bit interest there. And then Alex Lund's the dart throw. He'll play the backup 5. Use him on the showdown slate. It's actually worked pretty well, but he would be an interesting large field tournament play. And finally, Miami at Portland. So what I want to say here is, guys, I cannot wait for this game. You want to know why? We get to see two GOATs going up against each other. No. It's not Jimmy Butler and Damian Lillard. Not them. We have Yurt GOAT 7 versus Nurkic GOAT. Yeah. But yeah, no Jimmy Butler here, no Bam Adebayo. I think Kyle Lowry is a pretty safe play, should play close to 40 minutes in a great matchup. Now, what I will say with Lowry is there's been times where, like, every other member of the Miami Heat has been out, and he is actually let down at around 8K price point. So, like, he can still hurt you. He's done it to me a couple times. It's been very, very painful. But, yeah, I think he's a pretty decent option here. Again, going to have to do more of the playmaking without Jimmy Butler. And then Tyler Hero at 6'9", I think it looks great. Played 42 minutes last game. He's probably going to have to play all the minutes he can handle. So the two Miami guards look good. Probably a small lean to Hero. Again, Yurt Goat 7 went to the locker room, still played 33 minutes. He did not shoot well and still went for 32 fantasy points. So I think he's a pretty solid player there in the mid-range. We do have Max Strus coming back. So he's going to be one more body in the rotation. But again, no Jimmy Butler. So Strus, should get some decent minutes, but I don't love the price point on him. Martin has played really well last couple games. I think if he continues to start, he's a pretty good value, 33, 36 minutes. Again, this team needs offense. He's a guy that can provide some offense, so I have some interest in him. And PJ Tucker in his first game back played 28 minutes. I think I'd rather go to Martin at a similar price point. And lastly, I'll mention Kyle Guy, who's been playing mid-20s minutes off the bench. He's a guy that, is going to shoot the ball when he's out there, 8 and 11 shot attempts through 3 games. So I think he's interesting as a large field tournament play. And finally, Portland. So, yeah, Nurkic, he won me a lot of money last slate, guys, at no ownership. 46 fantasy points in 26 minutes. Again, imagine what would have happened if he would have played like 35 minutes, right? Maybe a 70 bomb? But yeah, Nurkic without Dame, without CJ, I think looks good. The only downside here is he only played 26 minutes. However, we have no Larry Nance. So he might, by default, just have to play more. So I think he looks pretty solid there in the mid-range. Norman Powell might shoot the ball 30 times this game, right? He had a really good game last game, went for 47 fantasy points. I think he's firmly in play here. And then Simon's game was insane. 60 fantasy points, 43 and 7 for Anthony Simons, 38 minutes. I think he's a solid play in the mid-range, should play mid-30s minutes. But again, last game was definitely an outlier for him. And then with Larry Nance doubtful, guys like Nasir Little and Robert Covington probably had to play more. Nasir Little finally went back to his normal minutes again for some 23 and 14 minutes here, but then 36 minutes. So, like, If we're going to get mid 30 minutes from Nasir Little, he feels too cheap. And then even Robert Covington probably has to play more. I think he's a decent option at 4-4. What they'll probably end up doing is they'll dust off Tony Snell and start him. And I'm not playing ever Tony Snell. Ben McLemore probably sees a little bit of run off the bench, but I don't think we have to go there. So that's it for Portland. And I think that's going to do it for the video as well, guys. So if you have been enjoying the content, again, just make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Again, I will be doing a YouTube live stream tomorrow, so make sure to check that one out, guys. But thanks again. Really appreciate all your support, and I will see you in the live stream tomorrow.